This is the trig ratios part 2 lesson. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to use trig ratios to solve for side lengths of a right triangle. So just to review, remember that the three ratios are sine, cosine, and tangent. And since the acronym SOHCAHTOA, we can use that to remember the ratios. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is the ratio of the adjacent side to the hypotenuse. And then the tangent is the ratio of the opposite side to the adjacent side. So notice that tangent is the only one where you don't use the hypotenuse. So whenever you have a triangle like this, so it's going to give you an angle measure, and then it'll tell you two side lengths. And one will have a side length and one will have a variable to it. So if my side lengths are the legs, that means I'm going to be using the tangent ratio, because if you have the hypotenuse, then you would use the sine or the cosine ratio. Okay, so we're going to use the tangent here. So we're going to say tangent of the angle 60. I don't know why I said 10. Tangent of 60. Oh, and by the way, you're going to need your calculator, so please pause and get out your calculator and make sure that the mode is in degrees. If you remember from the last video, or if you don't, you go to mode, which is up here, and then go down to where it says radian degree and make sure that degree is highlighted. And then press second quit to get out of that. So our tan of 60 degrees equals opposite, which is 15, over adjacent side, which is x. The adjacent side is the one that it's next to, that it's touching. That's not the hypotenuse. Okay, so here, how do we solve for x now? So if I put tangent of 60 over 1, then I can cross multiply. So I would do x times tangent of 60 equals 1 times 15, so just 15. And then to solve for x, I would divide both sides by the tangent of 60. Now, the tangent of 60 is just one thing. You don't separate it. Okay, so then we would have x equals 15 over the tangent of 60. So really, when we cross multiplied here, if x is in the denominator, then that means you're just going to divide by the tangent of 60. So we could just like switch these two instead of doing this intermediate step here. So then take your calculator and do 15 divided by tangent of 60. And you don't need to have it as a fraction bar like this. You can if you want, but it's not necessary. So 15, just use the division sign, and then tangent of 60, type in your angle, equals 8.66. We'll do 2 decimal places. So here, x is 8.66. Okay, so that was an example where we used the tangent because we had the opposite and adjacent side and not the hypotenuse. All right, for 2, let's just take a minute and let's scribble out f so we could just focus on 2 things here. So we have the 35 angle, and then we have the opposite side is involved in this this triangle. It's a variable e, and we have the hypotenuse. So which of the trig ratios involves opposite and hypotenuse? That would be the sine. So we're going to set up our ratio using sine. So sine of 35 equals opposite, which is e, over hypotenuse, which is the 12. All right, so then for this one, the e is in the numerator. So for this, we're going to just multiply both sides by 12. So then we'll have 12 times the sine of 35 equals e. And then we don't have to divide here. We're just multiplying both sides by 12, and then type in your calculator 12 times the sine of 35. Okay, so 12 times the sine of 35. And that gives us 6.88. So e equals 6.88. So for this example, if the variable is in the numerator, then you multiply the hypotenuse with sine. Okay, so now let's take a different color and let's unscribble out f and let's scribble out e. So in this case, we have the adjacent side to 35 and the hypotenuse. So in this side, and to find f, you could use the cosine. So the cosine of 35 equals f, adjacent side to the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is always in the denominator. So this is the same setup. We're going to multiply both sides by 12. So in our calculator, we'll type in 12 cosine of 35. So 12 cosine of 35 equals 9.83. So f equals 9.83. Okay, so because when we multiply both sides by 12, then that cancels out the 12. And then same here. Okay, so let's do this one. So once again, let's just scribble out one of them. Let's scribble out h first. So if we're looking at 55, and this is kind of like the same thing as this one, we're looking at 55, the opposite side, g is the opposite side, 15 is the hypotenuse. So opposite over hypotenuse is the sine ratio. So we're going to do the sine of 55 equals g over 15, multiply both sides by 15, and then we have 15 times the sine of 55, and then type that in your calculator. And then to get h, that's going to be the cosine because it's the adjacent side. So cosine of 55 equals h over 15, adjacent over hypotenuse. So then we multiply both sides by 15. So to get h, we're going to do 15 cosine of 55. Okay, so go ahead and type both those in your calculator. So 15 sine of 55, and then 15, cosine of 55. So 12.29 and 8.60. 12.29 and 8.60. Remember, these are side lengths then. So notice also that the hypotenuse should always be your longest side. So the hypotenuse is 15, and the other lengths were about 12 and 8. So same here. Hypotenuse was 12. That should be your longest side. Okay, so let's do another one of these. So number 4. So we're given the angle 20. The other side lengths involved are the opposite side and the adjacent side, not the hypotenuse. That means if you're not having the hypotenuse, you would use the tangent. So we'll do the tangent of 20 equals opposite over adjacent, so 8 over x. And this is one of the ones from the very beginning question where we're just going to flip these two, switch these two with cross multiplication and division. So x equals 8 over tangent of 20. We're just switching the place here. So I would just do 8 divided by tangent of 20. And 21.98. Why is your answer so big? Well, think about it. This is a really short angle, so 20 degrees is not a lot. So if this is 8, then that means this side is going to be longer, for example. It's a ratio. Okay, so how about this one? I would use, this is actually the same exact thing as this one because we have opposite and adjacent. I'm just going to set it up here. Well, I'll ask you how to set it up. So we should say the tangent of 43 equals opposite over x, so 29 over x. And then we would have x equals 29 over tangent of 43. Okay, for this one, let's see. I'm going to scribble out n for a second. So to solve for m, I would use the tangent because we have opposite and adjacent. So the tangent of 39 equals 25 over m. So this is the same thing as 4 and 5. So we would have m equals 25 divided by the tangent of 39, which if you type that into your calculator, you should get 30.87. Okay, now if we just scribble out m and consider n, we're doing opposite side and the hypotenuse. So opposite over hypotenuse is the sine. So the sine of 39 equals 25 over n, opposite over hypotenuse. So now we're going to switch these two. So n equals 25 over sine of 39. And then if you type that into your calculator, you get 39.73. 39.73 for the hypotenuse, which is the longest side. Okay, and then this one, find the perimeter. So I know it says only to find x, but to find the perimeter, and area, we'll also have to find the hypotenuse. So first of all, let's take 32. We have opposite and adjacent sides. So we have the legs. That means we're going to use tangent to solve for x. So the tangent of 32 equals opposite x over 24, adjacent. Okay, so to solve for x is in the numerator. So to solve for x, we're just going to multiply both sides by the 24. So do 24 times tangent of 32. That gives us, let's just call that 15. So x equals 15. Now, to get the hypotenuse, we could either do cosine or we could do Pythagorean theorem, actually. So we could do 15 squared plus 24 squared equals c squared, where this is c. So then I would do the square root of 15 squared plus 24 squared. So the square root of 15 squared plus 24 squared is 28.3. 28.3. So for our perimeter, we would just add the three side lengths together. So 15, 24, and 28.3. And that gives us 67.3 units. And then, this is feet. Okay, so feet. And then for the area, we would use the formula 1/2 area of the base times height. Sorry, 1/2 base times height, the heat volume. So where the base is 24 and the height is 15. So 1/2 base times height. So you could do 1/2 times 24 is 12, and then 12 times 15 is, let's check our calculator. It's too early for mental math. 180. So 180 feet squared. Okay, so there's one other example here, and I'll let you do this in the Ed puzzle. So other than that, hope you enjoyed this lesson. Hope you guys have a great day.